All right, I think we're golden. You want to talk to me a little bit, Grant? Make sure I can get an audio check.
Yep. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
One, two, three.
All
All
right,
right. Hey,
great.
everybody. How you doing? Glad you could all be here. Looking forward to this. Our first AMA here on the Discord channel. And yeah, like Eric said, just a real quick intro on how we got here, and then we will jump into your questions. And I've got the iPad up and connected, so we can show you some things as it comes up. But yeah, I mean, this all started 3 years ago. And by the way, I'm Grant Anderson. I'm the CEO of Mirrorscape and the creator of Arcana. This has been a passion project of mine for 3 years. Um, I wanted to create a better gaming experience, a better way to play our favorite games right around the tabletop. And I've been working in augmented and virtual reality for about 8 years, doing a lot of location based experiences for Marvel and DreamWorks. I did Avengers Damage Control with the Void, if anybody got to see that. And also directed the How to Train Your Dragon Flight School experience for Dreamscape Immersive, which are at all the coming back online now that COVID is hopefully ending for good. Haha. And coming back online. So if there are any outlets around you, definitely go see it. They're pretty cool. But I've been working on all these big AR, VR experiences, but all the while in the back of my head, I'm like, this is the perfect technology to marry with gameplay, tabletop gameplay. And so I, looked around 3 years ago. 3 years ago, last Christmas, I started on this and looked around and said, somebody's got to be doing this, and nobody really was. There've been lots of little demos and little trinkety things, but no real platform for this kind of play. And so I said, you know what, screw it. I'll just roll up my sleeves and dig into my engineering background and started throwing this together. I used to work for Apple as well. So um, Apple and then film industry and all kinds of things. So all my skills kind of led to VR and AR, which is a great combination of technology and art and entertainment. But I rolled up my sleeves and just started programming this up, and it became a thing. And met Eric through a friend of mine, and he, had lots of ins with the gaming community, and we met Kyle Newman, who is one of our creative advisors. Joe Manganello came on board, so everybody saw it and we're just blown away. Like seeing really is believing, and it's still really difficult if you guys haven't seen it in person, which I know a lot of you haven't. Very soon you will be able to. But those of you who haven't been able to see it in person, it really is a different experience. Even over this kind of thing, it's really hard. Like over the 8 years that I've been working in this medium, it's really hard to explain an immersive experience when you are doing it over a flat 2D screen with Zoom or Discord or whatever. So anyway, seeing truly is believing. Hopefully we can, you guys can see some of that today and get your questions answered. But yeah, that's the basic gist of it. I wanted to create a better experience than playing D&D on the web or like this, right? Like I said, I wanted to create that authentic experience of being around the table, and AR is a great way to do that because unlike other products, you can actually be around the table. Eric and myself and several other people played a game last night on the platform, all around the table in person, and we're just using this technology to be able to create these amazing builds, right, with effects on top and like all this cool stuff that you can build as big as your dreams. So that's always been the intention. And of course, COVID came, and like we realized how important it is to be able to play remotely. So that's a huge part of this as well, is being able to, there's always that one person at game night that never ends up making it, or that has a hard time making it. So four of you can still get around the table, and that last person can beam in, right? You'll see their video or their avatar. So lots of uses for this technology. We're super excited about it, and we think it's going to be great. And thank you guys for all of your support through the Kickstarter and through the Discord. I think we're going to make some amazing stuff together. So with that, I will open it up to questions.
Awesome. Yeah, so guys, in the text channel, it says ask me anything. If you just type in there that you want to ask a question, I'll unmute you. You can talk directly to Grant. Um, Grant, if you want to start running some gameplay while we chat, that might be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can just show you like, okay, like one of the coolest things, and this is you might want to, I don't know how it is on your screen, but you might want to maximize the Arcana window. This is just the intro screen, temp screen. We're working on all this stuff to have a proper login and all that. But basically, you just tap the connect button. You'll have a list of friends that you can connect with. And what you start in is what we call the leanback mode. And this is the mode that just allows you to play on a virtual table so that you don't have to. Um, and this is all running off the iPad right here, coming straight off the screen. So nothing's faked. Everything that you see in the videos is real. We haven't faked any of that stuff. So this is a real stable platform. that is mostly finished, and that's why we did the Kickstarter. We've got, certainly things to finish and do, and all the stuff that we want to add on. But it's working. So no faking here. But the Leanback mode allows you to play in a bunch of themed environments. So this is where, if you just want to play or build, a lot of people just like building dungeons on a plane, a train, or in bed, or whatever. You can do that here. But of course, the magic is in augmented reality. So when we hit the AR button, I'll show you this. You can get up, scan your table, drop your grid, and this allows you to adjust the grid where it is on your tabletop so that you can place it wherever you need to. And then we can just load up like the camping crypt. And boom, it builds right on your table. Or we can bring up Cragmaw, who's actually a better fit. And it drops right on your table. And as you can see, you can move in, and it's, we're going for realism here. This is the actual terrain that you would 3D print or that you would buy with Dwarven Forge, which is one of our partners. This is Fat Dragon terrain here, which was easier because it was all digital. We're scanning all of Dwarven Forge's library. But, we've got all your minis in there. There's Hero Forge minis. You can see there the Goblin looking amazing.
Real
We've
quick,
got
Grant,
Flame.
let me pop in and make a quick disclosure, guys. The jaggedness, that's from the connection, not from the actual app itself. So we're getting really low frames per second, but that's a connection issue, not an experience issue. Trust me, it's smooth as can be in person.
Yeah, so that was one of the things, like just network stuff when we were testing this before. But if you can see what I'm saying, I'll try to hold it a little bit steady so it'll maybe not be as pixelated. But, it really does look completely realistic. Like this stuff is actually sitting on your table. This might look a little familiar there. And then you can just pull you can just drag on the screen and move anything that you want. You can pop open all of the packs, and this is where all of your terrain and minis and stuff like that will be. All of the walls, and it's all skinnable. So the number down at the bottom tells you how many paint schemes there are. So here we can cycle through different paint schemes. You want a mossy devil head, then you can take that out and then just drag it out and place it. And then you can build and move stuff as much as you like. And of course, you've got the digital dice. And what's cool about these is same thing, they're skinnable. You can change to different skins. And then when you launch it, it actually bounces on your real table. So these all bounce off the actual tabletops and land on the tabletops, as you can see, and fall off. So that's the amazing thing about AR is we're utilizing, like you would in real life, all of these things. Hero Forge minis, you can sync your account and then just drop in any of your minis. Here's my character. Just drop them in, and all of your characters will appear here that you have synced with your Hero Forge purchases. And then all of this is networked, right? So anybody who networks into your game will see the same thing on their tabletop. And you can all be playing around, like I said, in person, so that 5 people are around here, they each see it from their own perspective. So, if you're across the table from me, you'll see it from that viewpoint because all the table is synchronized between the devices to create a shared space so that it really is as if it's sitting on top of the tabletop. And then everything's networked. So those people that are, you'll all see it on your tablets or phones, and anybody who's not in the room and networked will also see it. And of course, we've got cool stuff. If you want to dim it down, you can make it dark and dungeony, right, with different lighting controls. The basics right off the start is when you have, it uses the ambient light in the scene to determine the brightness that the scene will be so that it actually matches. But you can actually turn it down and, create these really creepy, dark dungeony scenes. So, that's the basics. And then if you want, you can just go back and you can switch back into the leanback mode. And so your map is right here, and you just use touch gestures, pinch to zoom in, 2 fingers to look around, and 3 fingers to move in. So you can actually, zoom into these areas, right? Go right through the wall, get in on the action and the perspective of your character. And we're going to make that really easy. You'll be able to double tap on a character and zoom right into that perspective so that you can actually, look around the scene as if you're in the dungeon. So lots of cool features that we're adding, of course, as you've seen on our Kickstarter with some of the stretch goals and things like that. So we've got a long runway and lots of cool stuff.
All right, we
So
got
I'm sure
a
there's
yeah, we got a couple
questions.
questions here. So, Lord Vindictus, I'm going to unmute you. Let's see, how do I do that? I think that did it. Can you hear us, Lord Vindictus? All right.
Can you
Hey,
hear
hey.
me?
Yeah, yeah, we got you
Yes.
loud and clear.
Awesome. So a lot of the videos are showing like dungeons and like interiors. Will there also be like exterior, like plains and forests and like water maps that will be able to be built?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have to start somewhere. And
Yes.
so, getting all this art in, it does take quite a long time. We are hand painting all of these things like you would a real mini because we want that, again, the authentic feel. We want it to look, super awesome. So, yeah, we're definitely going to be expanding. That's why we did the sci-fi pack add-on. A lot of people were asking for that. That just shows you that we are, absolutely going to be moving to these other genres, into other terrain, outdoors. We've got the Dungeons, Cavern City. We'll be expanding on all that stuff. We'll be scanning, like I said, a huge portion of Dwarven Forge's library. We'll be moving to sci-fi and urban and all the kinds of different horror, all the different kinds of terrain and minis that you want. So it's just going to take some time. Obviously, especially for the Kickstarter, we have to, just set expectations and we've got a lot on our plate with finishing the app, getting it out. We want to get it out to beta testers early. We want to get it into everybody's hands, coming this winter. And then, there's a lot of minis and terrain and all that stuff that we need to paint up and get in there. But we've got a great pipeline to do that, and we've got great partners that have vast libraries. Reaper has like 17,000 minis, which is crazy, and Dwarven Forge has a huge amount of terrain, as does Fat Dragon. So, there's lots of things that we can draw on, and we'll absolutely be doing that. So we'll constantly be adding new stuff. So yes.
Awesome. Jed Dunn has a couple questions. I'm going to unmute you, Jed. All right. Can you hear us, Jed?
I can hear you. I went ahead and typed them in, but I'll go ahead and say them verbally.
Yeah, Grant
Um,
likes
well, the,
to have conversations with the people.
Much
no
easier to
worries.
talk to people and hear you guys. I want to hear from you. It's like we've been typing till our fingers are bloody on all these comments, so it's good to actually talk to people.
No, this is great. Well, the Fog of War worked both, and I could see how it would be easier to do in a virtual environment, but for the augmented reality where you have everybody around a tabletop, do you think the Fog of War will function in that aspect as well?
I'm sorry, that the what will?
The Fog of War?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It will definitely work in both environments. And we've been talking about, just so you guys know too, is that your Kickstarter dollars are already hard at work. We've already hired additional engineers. So one started last Monday and another one is starting this Monday. So we're going to be really ramping up development now. And that is one of the things that we've all been discussing. Lots of cool ways to do that. But yeah, everything all features should work in both modes, right? For the most part, obviously, like with a PC desktop version, you're not going to have augmented reality available, right? Because there's no AR on PC devices yet. So where available, we're going to try and make all the features available. But Fog of War definitely will be across all of them.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, he had a couple
Sure.
more questions too. Do you want to keep going, Jed, or do you want me to read them out for you?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll keep going. So the second question was, how much will pre-built maps cost? So say I don't have the time to build Castle Ravenloft, but somebody else has created one. Will they be able to sell that, and will I be able to purchase it through the app? Or will you guys
Yeah.
have certain pre-built maps available?
Yeah, both of those are true. So the idea, and this won't likely be true right out of the gate, we're going to open up our marketplace and have all this stuff for sale. We'll have some pre-built maps for sale. Obviously, we'll have all the minis and terrain and all the different stuff, which we'll constantly be expanding on. The whole idea is to give you guys, because we can't build everything, we don't want to build everything, and we don't presuppose that we will make the best stuff, right? You guys will. So all of this is gearing, leaning towards you guys giving you as much creative control as possible. So all of that stuff will be available for you to then eventually, hopefully very shortly after we launch, be able to start putting your own creations onto the store as well and participating in that, and making them available to other people. So yeah, absolutely. That's the idea. We want to provide, not only our own maps and pre-made stuff, as well as official stuff, talking to many different companies that we're talking about partnering with, bringing that content on board, but then also allowing you guys to upload, a huge user community, with all, just tons and tons of maps, right?
Excellent. All right, I have one more question, and then I'll let somebody else go. So I know that there's going to be a free version of this that comes out after the beta. But my question is, say I've purchased like the space terrain or some builds, and I'm sharing that with my group who has the free version that I, the DM, have created. Will they be able to view all of the assets even though they haven't purchased them?
Yes. So if you are hosting, like we've said in the FAQ and with a bunch of people's questions, if you haven't seen that, is that we will likely be switching to a subscription model, obviously, because we're a business and we've got to keep the lights on and make all this amazing development possible. But if you join during the Kickstarter, you get hosting for free. And so you'll be able to host. And so whether after the fact you go onto the subscription model, and subscription, of course, will give you a lot of other benefits too. But if you are either on subscription or you back during the Kickstarter, you'll be able to host all of your content. And that means that if someone has the free version and you're DMing for them, they can just come on basically with the player version. And when you share your content, they'll be able to see it as long as you're hosting. When you stop hosting, those assets will disappear.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right.
Thank
cool.
you.
King Sax, you want to jump in?
Yeah, can you hear me all
Yes, we can.
right? G'day. The only question I've got is really how big can you go?
Yeah, well, pretty big. Like there really isn't a limit. We have tested some massive maps. The main issue becomes, when it's super massive, you can start getting into performance issues with all the terrain and stuff. But the other part of this is when you're in AR and you're actually projecting on your table, like I was just showing you, your table is only so big. So you still have to fit it on there, right? Or it's going to float off the table. It's just like the same problem you'd have otherwise. So what we're going to do most likely, and we're experimenting with this right now, is switch to a volumetric scrolling system. And what that means is you will have, whatever fits on your table, because we know the dimensions of the table based on your scan, you'll be able to fit, that portion of the map on there. And then you'll be able to hit a button and be able to drag the map, just because like I was just dragging the grid, but you'll instead be dragging the map. So you'll be able to drag the visible portion, just like you do a web window, onto your tabletop. So you can build however big you want. They'll basically, we'll limit it to, I don't know, like, we'll probably run into some limits, but like it'll be huge, right? And then you'll be able to pull into view that portion that you're currently playing in on your tabletop. So yeah, there really won't be an issue with size.
That's excellent. I think we're also going to need a library of excuses so I can explain to my wife where all my money's going when I'm buying Hero Forge minis.
Yeah.
Clean up after yourself, right? Like that's the key part with this. And that's kind of like if you saw the Kickstarter video that we did with Joe Manganiello, that was kind of the joke, right? She's always like, keep your stuff off my tables. So like at least you're not hoarding a bunch of plastic and stuff like that. This really does. We wanted to create something that was realistic, right? That uses the terrain and minis that you know and love with these great partners. But that is more immediate, right? Like this stuff you're always got a phone or a tablet with you. So you could pick up last night's game, last weekend's game, at any time. Like, oh, hey, let's pick up last night's game at lunch, right? And just play that way in an authentic manner, like literally on your table or in leanback mode. So we wanted to make it authentic. We wanted to make it immediate. We wanted to make it mobile first. We wanted to make it accessible. We wanted to make it less expensive to build as big as your dreams.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Lick the Sofa. Can you hear us, Mr. Lick the Sofa?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just like I noticed when you zoomed into like the first person perspective, I was wondering if there's a way to scale it so then you could actually use the augmented reality to walk around inside of your builds physically.
Spoilers.
All I can say is stay tuned here. Very shortly, we will be making an announcement about that.
Keep an eye on our stretch goals, friend.
Awesome.
Grant likes to keep things under a tight lid, but yeah, just keep an eye on the updates and the stretch goals, and maybe something will answer your question.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, no problem. I'm gonna get energy in here. If that's all right. Let's see, energy. Energy, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Just wondering if there will be like a city mode, because I know when we do campaigns, oftentimes we're traveling on a large map, Would there be, individual like small town, maps we could buy or make? Anything like that in the works?
Yeah, you mean like the big like
Barovia as
hexagon
the whole.
wilderness
Yeah. Yeah.
encounters
Yeah. Yeah.
across distances.
Yep. So
Yeah.
I know
Uh,
we're going from Barovia to
right.
Crest and those kind of things. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Um, we yes. So we're going to support hexagon maps, right? And so that's kind of a different scale of terrain. And so yes, we will. That'll be a little bit further out in terms of do we what kind of things do we give you for that, right? Like we don't want to model a bunch of detail for all these little towns. They could be like little like 3D tokens of towns and things like that. So it's kind of almost like a little different scale of miniatures, but there's no reason that we can't do that. Um, so yes, we do want to be able to support that. We are going to be doing outside and hex scale stuff. We have some cool ideas and some prototypes for the things that we're going to be doing for that in terms of outdoor terrain in terms of being able to generate some yourself. So yeah, there's gonna be
Awesome.
announcements. That'll be like I said a little bit later off, but we have some cool ideas for what we can do there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey Grant, let's talk a little bit about how you plan on dealing with multi-level buildings, caves, castles. What's going to be your approach to the multi-level in, situation?
Yeah. So that's a big one, obviously. Like right now, it's not in there, and that's one of the big things that's missing, and that's one of the biggest things I want. And I've been prototyping it for quite some time, and that's actually what the developer that just started on Monday is tasked with doing. So we're kind of optimizing the grid-based system that we have. Everything is on the grid. We're loosening that up a little bit, and like you're going to be able to not only to we have to do this to support all the miniatures that we're now trying to accommodate, like dragon lock cities, for instance, like the way they all snap together. It's not just 2 by 2 inch pieces. Obviously there's 1 by 1, there's 2.5 by 1/2 inch, there's all these different things. So we're loosening all that up and kind of reimagining the way that we do that foundationally. And so as part of that, we're also putting in the multi-level system, and it's going to be super duper cool. So yeah, she'll be able to create, multi-level things. You'll be able to drag pieces up, and they'll be able to stack on top of other pieces. You'll be able to set a base level in the sky if you want to make a castle in the clouds, and start building in that way. So you can multi-level builds like that. So there's lots of cool ideas that are in process right now. So that is something that is top of the list that we will be getting in very shortly, so that you can build upwards. We absolutely need that.
Right. Yeah. Even just seeing through the roofs of our villages and cities.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have it for the city stuff, right? Because you have multi-level rooms, like we're showing on the Kickstarter. You see the building there, so we know how we need to do it. We're just optimizing the architecture for that, and then we're gonna get that in. So that will be coming probably in the next couple months. We can start showing that stuff pretty quickly because it's absolutely necessary. But we're gonna make it super cool too, so that you can imagine on your tabletop, right? You've got a castle or something that you built with the terrain, and then you can explode it like with a gesture, and all the layers split, and you'll be able to look in each of the levels and drag down the one you want on your table, and the others will fade away, and you'll be able to play on that level. And then press a button, and they all stack back up and drop down on your table. Not only we have this amazing multi-level thing that you can build with villages, then you'll be able to open those up and actually play in the different levels. So that's how cool we want to make it. And so, take a bit of work to get there, but that's where we're headed.
That sounds awesome. Jed wanted to know about he said, I know you can probably import backgrounds for your builds, but can these be animated backgrounds, such as a looping video background? I think he means the Leanback Mode
Negative
settings, I think. So,
Oh, are you
is that
talking
what you
about?
mean, Jed? Let me get Jed in here again. Jed, if you're around,
Yeah,
I'm going to pull you in so you can ask your
I think
question.
maybe you're talking about negative space stuff.
Go ahead, Jed.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the negative space. So the way I DM now is I project down onto a flat map, but I use animated battle maps. So
Yeah.
it's got all the moving parts, animated tokens, those kinds of things. So I'm wondering if when you're building on these tile pieces for like the base of it, say you're working in an underground dungeon and there's lava flowing around, could you have an animated background underneath your tiles of something flowing or moving?
Yes, so that's what we want to do. We're going to bring in, so on the grid that you see, you'll be able to attach an image or an animated image. And so you'll be able to have the negative space or animated space. And you'll also be able to use that, if you, don't want to buy all the 3D tiles or you can't, or it's something's not available, right? That is one of the problems with coming in and, we know we need to make as much terrain available as possible, which is what we're doing, right? Again, we have art director coming on board as well to start really pumping this stuff through our pipeline, and a great bunch of painters, which you'll see. We're about to post up. Keep your eye on the Kickstarter and the stretch goals. There's some cool stuff coming up there, but getting all this trained through and having a massive amount of it. But we know that we're not always going to be able to. You're not going to be able to build every single thing until we get this massive library. So you'll be able to bring in maps just like you would say in a Roll20 if you need to, and then you can build on top of that, use it as a template, or you can have some buildings in 3D and the rest in 2D. You could put your 2D tokens on there. You can use your 3D minis on the 2D map. So you'll be able to have this flexibility to accommodate different play styles and different budgets and things like that.
Awesome.
Cool.
King Sax briefly wants to know, will there be a fly feature for the minis? How's flying going to work?
Yeah, so that's kind of like, yes. Again, it's kind of like with the multi-level stuff where you can take anything and put it at any height. So you'll be able to place things up. We don't have to deal with gravity, and this is AR, so of course we want stuff to fly. So yeah, you'll be able to position your minis in space and move them through the air, and they'll be able to hang there, which is gonna be super cool. Like you have your dungeon build or cavern, and you've got a flying creature in there that you can literally put in the air in 3D. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So we'll have that for sure.
And on that note, we've had a lot of questions about a built-in measuring system. How are you going to deal with move? Like, are people going to easily be able to see how far away something is?
Yeah.
How are you going to approach that?
Yeah, that is something that we have been thinking a lot about. This kind of goes with, so we're starting out as a terrain and mini and map visualization and creation tool, right? But obviously the long-term goal of this whole platform is to help you start automating some of the more, tedious detail, excuse me, tedious details that are part of the game, right? Like surprise, initiative, turn tracking, visibility, movement. So we have, lots of cool ways that we want to add that. That requires the rule systems, right? And so we are looking at how we bring all that stuff in. We'll have some cool announcements in the months ahead on how we're going to do that. But yeah, we want to, it might not be right off the bat. I think we can bring in some of the basic stuff of that, but we want to make it really super cool and really help, take some of the tedium out of playing this stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can imagine, dragging your character and it shows you a 3D, ruler, how far you're going. It will give some haptic feedback when you've reached your movement speed, a little shake, right? When you reach your movement distance. So there's all kinds of cool things that we can do with that we'll be doing.
All right, I'm going to get Timeball in here. Timeball, I'm unmuting you now. Timeball, can you hear us?
Yes, Ken.
Awesome.
Hey.
Yeah, just the demonstration you did mixing the augmented reality with the physical terrain. Once, as the DM lines that up correctly, perfectly on the table, is everyone else seeing that same positioning, or do they need to jockey their positioning to match the layout?
The goal is that, again, and this is what with the mixed physical and digital stuff, it is a little bit harder, and it depends on the accuracy of your devices and things like that. Obviously, this is all improving with each generation of device. You're going to get the best experience with later iPhones and Androids that have LiDAR sensors in them, obviously, because that's doing a true depth sense. And we can actually occlude other objects and so on and so forth. So you'll get the best experience with that. But the idea is that, again, like when everybody scans the table, you basically share it. Each device shares its world location and syncs the table so that things are in the same position. So those things should line up. It's going to be a little trickier with the mix physical and digital, but we think we can make that happen. And again, as the accuracy of the devices increases, that will become easier and easier to do. But yeah, that's the idea. In fact, having the physical terrain on the table actually helps that, because it has more stuff to lock onto, to share, so that each device knows, oh, okay, I saw that from here and you see that from here. So it can triangulate the surface and everything can be locked together.
Wow,
Yeah.
awesome.
And just a little aside to build on that. When we were playing recently, we all had it like we manually set it up so everyone was kind of sitting in the same position. But I think ultimately we'll have the option for the DM to decide if everyone can see it the same way or if everyone can modify it to their most comfortable position. So once we got all set up, we found a lot of people kind of like leaning in and stuff like that. But it was easier to just unlock that and drag the grid closer to the player and set the action right in front of them. So I do think that having both those options is going to be the best case scenario, and then kind of just whatever the experience you're trying to have is just what we'll go with.
Yeah, and just to expand on that, so you know, you have to imagine like the AR stuff is like real life, but the stuff is actually on the table, and you are leaning in. And right now, it's with your iPhone and your iPad. Like a lot of people said, well, I don't know if I can, hold my iPhone or iPad that long. But this is how we use it with little stands. You can use any stand. You can use your folding keyboard stand, which is what I used to use until we got these nice fancy ones. Anything will work, and you just put it on your table, and like you're sitting there and you're role playing. Most of the time, you're not always constantly looking at the map, right? It's when the action occurs, when you're doing battle, when it's your turn, and then you can pick it up and get in on the action if you need to look, right? So it actually works out very, very well. And you can also go into leanback mode, and you can just lean back literally and play back in the virtual service, and then switch back into AR if you want to. So you can play how's comfortable for you. And in fact, we do find that most of our beta testers are switching back and forth quite frequently between the different modes, however they feel at the moment.
So today there was an interesting, fun, exciting announcement that kind of blew up the D&D world. As soon as the Dungeons and Dragons stream happened, our Discord lit up about when's the ship coming in, when are we gonna spell jam it. So we did add the sci-fi add-on pack. So we're certainly moving in that direction, but just kind of wanted to get some feedback and your opinion on where you see more sci-fi type settings coming in. Can people build giant spaceships? Starcana is something that Kyle's been kicking around a little bit. But
Okay.
yeah, if you want to expand on how some outer space adventure might happen, I know a lot of people in here would love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, right? Like, we definitely want to do that. Look, I would love to wave a magic wand or, perform a magic spell and have all this terrain in there instantly. But like I said, we have to start somewhere. So we started with the fantasy, which obviously, that's the stuff. Like, I'm a huge D&D fan and Pathfinder fan and love playing those games. So, we started with that, but I also love Starfinder and I love horror games and like all that stuff. So we definitely are going to support all that stuff. It's just, we have to start somewhere. And with the Kickstarter, we wanted to start with this. We're going to be doing some, extra add-on packs coming out as well. So keep a look on for that in this last week of the Kickstarter, last 10 days. But yeah, we want to have all of that terrain available and really cool things like, yes, the ships and pirate ships and things like that. Don't think we're going to be able to get there just for the Kickstarter because that's again, we're reimagining the system the way all this stuff fits together so we can support all of these different pieces. And we do want to make this, we could do just a one-off piece, right? Like we could just do a ship, but it's better if it's built out of Lego blocks and different pieces that you can use like Legos to build other things. We want to make all this stuff modular, like the train that everybody's used to, so that you can actually, build other things with it and kit bash. So, to do all that, it does require a lot of work, and that's why we're bringing on a whole bunch more artists and our director and all that stuff to really start jamming this through. But yes, we want to support all that. It'll just take time, but once we get cranking, you're going to see the stuff. If you look at the sci-fi terrain, if everybody hasn't seen that, I know it was in the Discord channel that Eric put up all the painted pieces. We have a great artist that did all that in like a few days, 3 or 4 days. So, we can crank through this stuff pretty quickly. So once we get, at a decent pace, and we've been somewhat slowed down by the Kickstarter because we're all focused on this, just getting through the Kickstarter. But, once that's done, we're going to start making rapid progress on all these fronts.
Awesome. King Sax wants to be the guy that asks about character sheets and specifically linking D&D Beyond character sheets.
Sure.
I was just reading the question for him.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
are we going to do it? Yeah. So it's interesting. We, of course, want to do that. We will be doing it. Again, that's going in kind of with the game automation and the rule sets and all that stuff. So we want to make the tedious parts obviously much more simple. Much like you would on Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, you click on a spell, you click on an attack, and it figures it out. We're going to do it in a much cooler way. So that will be coming. Again, after, you'll start to see some of that towards launch, and certainly after launch. What's interesting is we've been playing kind of old school, like literally using this as our terrain and our map, system, Arcana, and then using our regular character sheets. And, last night we were playing and we were mixing with virtual dice and physical dice. So you can totally mix and match and play like you would. And, initially we're really concentrated on giving you a really cool map system and projection system, like a hologram basically on your tabletop that you can play with really cool layouts. But we absolutely want to bring all the rule systems in. The trick, of course, is working with all of these license holders and so forth. So again, we're going to have announcements on that in the future, not too distant future. We've got some really cool stuff that I think you guys will be happy about. But we want to do it in the right way. We want to be able to support a lot of different things. D&D Beyond in particular is a little tough because, as you know, Wizards of the Coast just bought them, and Wizards of the Coast we're definitely in discussion with them on a lot of things, but they, after the Hasbro reorg and all that stuff, are kind of clawing back all their rights from people. So it gets a little more difficult to work with them, and certainly with D&D Beyond at this point. But we do have other options, and again, we'll be making those announcements in the coming months. But yes, we'll have character sheets and integration, in a really cool way of doing that in 3D.
Awesome. Okay, so looking a little bit into the future, when you designed this, I know you and I have spoken about this before, but you already had the augmented reality glasses in mind. So that's kind of like, you can almost think of like the iPad and the iPhone and the mobile experiences as the pregame to the augmented reality glasses, which I believe you think will be the ultimate form of how this will be experienced. If you could elaborate on that,
Yeah.
that'd be very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So 3 years ago, the whole reason I did this is because I knew these glasses were coming. And, everybody's like, oh, those are years off and so on and so forth. I'm like, yeah, but, so was the internet. And I had the idea for Netflix, but I waited too long on that one. So I was determined I wasn't going to do that this time. So all from the very beginning, that was the goal, is to get these on the AR glasses as quickly as possible. So everything that we've done foundationally underneath is built and designed to move on to those. In terms of spatial interfaces, in terms of the frameworks that we use for the code and all that kind of stuff. So that absolutely is going to be the best expression of this game. Obviously, we want to ship and get it out to you guys and get the community going and people to start playing. And it is going to be, I say 5 years, 5 to 8 years, most likely 5, before the cell phone starts to go away and everybody starts wearing these glasses. I absolutely think that will happen because it's going to be so compelling. And that's going to be the ultimate expression, right? Because you don't have to hold up your phone or your pad or anything like that. It's always on your face. It's in 3D, true 3D, stereoscopic 3D. So you will see it in true depth on your tabletop. And we're ready to go with that. And we're talking to AR glass manufacturers to be there. They're really excited. In fact, they're reaching out to us, having seen the Kickstarter and how it's blowing up, and to see just the advanced nature of this platform. We've talked to a lot of companies, and from the toy companies and the Hasbros and all those of the world, who have seen everything, and they've been really impressed with what we're doing. So we're kind of ahead of a vast majority of the game. And so these people are reaching out to us, and so I want to make sure that we pick the platforms that I've worked in the entertainment and the technology business my entire life, which is quite a while. So I have a good gut feeling of which ones are going to succeed and which ones aren't, right? So we want to make sure that we pick ones that are going to be there for the long haul, because we obviously, have limited development time, and we want to make sure that we're spending all of our and your hard-earned dollars that you're giving us for the Kickstarter to go to platforms that will succeed, because we don't want to waste any development effort. But that is absolutely where we are headed, and amazing things are going to happen there with what we are going to be able to do.
Awesome. In the Discord channel, we have a find your party section, which has been, picking up some steam. There's a lot of people in there that are looking for a party for when the beta kicks off. A lot of people ready to host. So there is some organization for games happening, but is there going to be a built-in system for people to find games, for DMs to maybe get paid, for ways for people to use Arcana to meet and then begin gaming immediately?
Yeah, that's another thing that we want to do for sure. We've mocked that up. We have a prototype social network that's built into the app, which allows you to chat and to, everything you would do on a regular social network, have forums and ask questions and do everything that we're doing here. But that's built into the app. And, there's pros and cons to us doing it that way, right? Like if we, building your own social network is a lot. Like we don't want to be like a Facebook or any of that kind of stuff, but we want to be a hub for people to be able to find people on the platform. So in that regard, I think we can do something special and also deeply integrate it in really cool ways, which I can't totally go into at this time. But by having our own network, we can do that kind of deep integration, which I think would make some magic there. But we are going to absolutely provide a way, whether it's our own system or working with others, to enable you all to find each other, to very quickly create games or schedule games, right? Imagine that, you're going to host a DM session this Friday at 6 Pacific time. You send the invite to your friends. A notification pops up on your phone or tablet. You tap it, Arcana opens, and the map drops down on your table, and you're ready to go. That's where we want to go. We want to make it drop dead simple and easy, and we're very close to that. And there's a lot of other unique ways that we can work to, make it a lot easier for you to find each other. And yeah, for DMs to make some money, right? Like I usually DM and I love it, but it's a lot of work, right? A lot of research and a lot of time and a lot of, reading up on everything or writing your own adventures or purchasing or painting the minis and all that stuff. So we want to, make it easy for you guys to get paid. I mean, not necessarily from your friends, but maybe, you want to do it for a side job or something because you love it. So we're looking into all that. Yeah.
Awesome. And then Orion Noir Hunter had a question for you. So let me unmute him. Orion, are you there? Mr. Noir Hunter? Hello? I just saw you
Maybe he's muted.
I just saw you mute yourself and then unmute yourself. All right. Well, he typed out his question, so I'll go ahead and ask it for him. Are you aware of Tilt 5, AR hardware that is wearable? Is that on your radar as a system? And if not, please take a look.
It is absolutely on our radar. We have talked to those guys and we are in talks with those guys. And in fact, they just sent us a lovely message this morning, actually, that they totally backed our campaign and they've been tweeting out about us. So it's great. Yeah, those guys are doing some really amazing work. So, we can't announce anything with partners that, we don't have a deal with yet, but we are, of course, talking to a lot of different people and we are absolutely aware of Tilt 5 and have been for some time. Like, they're doing some cool stuff.
All right, very cool. Let's see. Is there anything else you kind of wanted to talk about? Unga Pugunk. Let me just unmute you. You can ask your question. Go ahead, Unga Punguk.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my question is, will the app be open for modding? And I don't mean like we create our own tiles and how the tiles look and stuff like that, but for like spell effects, because I know there are a lot of homebrew items and spell effects that you guys may not be privy to or whatever. And I know, like World of Warcraft and other games like that allow modding. Will this be accessible?
Yeah. So again, at launch, no, we are going to, with the stretch goal, with the spell effect stretch goal, we're going to start, providing the top, biggest spells that are available and some generic ones and stuff like that. And then keep building on that. We'll constantly, just like all the different minis and paint jobs and terrain pieces and that, we'll constantly be coming out with more and more developed spell effects. That being said, like everything else, we are, we very much, basically we want this to be the Minecraft or the Roblox for the adult tabletop community, right? A more complex, sophisticated version of that, where you guys have control over building and creating things. That's going to take a lot of development work, but we've got a lot of really cool plans and we have some really cool prototype head starts on that stuff. But we want to give you the ability to do all that stuff, to modify spell effects, to modify terrain, to paint your own minis, to do all this cool stuff. So all of that stuff is on the roadmap. And that is really the crux of this whole thing, right? We're starting out with this. We want to create a curated selection of the best things to show best of class and how we do this stuff, and get it out into your hands to start building, and to keep bringing a stream of things that you can add to your game, because a lot of people don't want to spend time on that. But then the main crux of this is to give you guys the control to be able to mod all this stuff, and to create all your homebrew content, and to then bring that back to the community, right? And put that back in the marketplace and let other people have access to it. So yes, that's on the roadmap.
Awesome. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm trying to think of some other features that we might be able to talk about. Is there anything that you can think of that we haven't covered yet? Looks like Orion is typing, but hasn't sent his message yet.
Okay. Gosh, what haven't we covered? Terrain, all the minis.
I think people are curious, and I hope you don't yell at me afterwards for asking this publicly, but people do kind of want to get an idea of what the prices on the marketplace are going to be. I know we don't have any, solid numbers, and I've been telling people that they're going to be pleasantly
Yeah.
surprised. But do you want to go ahead and kind of maybe give them a
Yeah.
hint about what kind of
Sure.
expenditures they're going to have?
Yeah, I mean, so look, we want to make this really affordable, right? Like, again, this is, we're going to constantly be coming out with stuff, and we do have to make money because we're a business, and we want to keep the lights on, and we want to continue to be able to make this stuff for all you guys. So, there does need to be, there's lots of other projects out there I've seen that give away everything, but I'm like, I don't know how you're going to continue to exist, right? So, but we want to make this affordable. So, we've talked to our partners, and they're on board, and it's going to be, it's going to be like a few dollars a piece, right? So, and once you buy a piece, you're not buying a piece, you're buying a sculpt, right? So if you buy that floor piece or you buy that wall piece, you can use it indefinitely. And that's the big thing about the physical digital divide. Like, physical stuff, if I want to make a huge room, right, and build as big as my dreams, you got to have 40, 50 floor tiles or something. And that's where it really starts to add up. And so, there's a huge economy of scale right there. But we're going to make it very affordable. So it'll be, for an average piece, it'll be a few bucks. And then, if there's like interactive features on it, and a lot of these things, now that we've unlocked the interactive terrain tiles on our stretch goals, like a lot of these things are going to be interactive. Like trap spring and darts fly, and doors can open, and you can change the flicker or color of the torch, or add a sound to it with the sound effects library. So all kinds of cool stuff there. So yeah, I mean, you'll have lots of options to be able to do that. So those will be a little bit more expensive, like $1 for two more. So nothing is going to be super expensive. I'm sure there'll probably be, like, if we were talking about that pirate ship or something, right? That's going to be more expensive because that's a whole huge thing, right? And we're also trying to think of cool ways to, like, if you were thinking of like Castle Ravenloft and buying all the terrain for that, right? Even at digital prices, it can get very expensive, right? So we're trying to figure out innovative ways to be able to, for you guys to be able to buy this stuff and make it affordable. We'll have more to talk about in that regard, but it's going to be very affordable. I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised. It's like kind of an impulse in-app purchase kind of thing.
Awesome. And then Orion, building on what you just said, Orion had a question. As someone who's already purchased access to a lot of these tiles from the sources you're partnered with, unlocking these tiles will require me to unlock them again digitally, correct? I.e., I can't import prior purchases into this system. And building on that, can you explain why people can't just drop their STLs into our platform?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and one we get a lot. So I'm glad you asked it. That is because, yeah, generally no, because they're not the same thing. Like, I know it looks like the same thing, and I hear you. Like, I'm also a consumer of this stuff, and I buy a lot of it, and like rebuying your books, the physical book and the digital book here and there and there, and it's like I get it. But they're not the same thing because STLs are very, very high poly, right? They're designed for 3D printing generally. And so we have to take those in. We have to put them through a process called decimation, which takes them from, like, 1.5 to 2 million polygons per mini down to 10,000 without losing any detail, right? For it to be mobile performant, because, this has to be on mobile for AR, because again, they're not on PCs currently, right? AR, which doesn't really make sense. And so to do that and make it performant, we have to put it through this whole process. Not only that, but we're also painting them, right? None of the STLs generally come painted. So there's a lot of work that we have to put in to do this, to get it on the platform. So they're not actually the same thing. So yeah, generally there'll be a cost associated with it. But again, we're trying to make it very low cost. And again, in AR, there is the potential to mix your physical and digital terrain that you already own.
Great. And then, yeah, I know that you and I have kicked around, well, the whole team has kicked around the idea of promotions where if you do buy the physical sets, people can scan that barcode or QR code and import those pieces digitally at some point in the future. So I think maybe this kind of approaches that.
Well, maybe, yeah. We have to talk about that is obviously a business decision that we need to talk about with our partners, right? So again, we're also working with partners, which make all this amazing, scopes and minis and things like that. So, these are licenses that we have to do. So there's cost to us there. So we have to discuss all that with our partners. But we do have a lot of, and I put this in the FAQ, I think, yeah, it's in there. But going forward, and again, not at launch, but going forward, and this goes into the user creation tools, there's cooler ways that we can kind of do what you're wanting. So we'll have more to say about that in the future as well.
Very cool. Lord Vindictus wants to know how fine of control will there be for the weather effects?
Like in terms of what? Is he?
Let me get him, Lord
Yeah,
Vindictus. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Lord Vindictus, here you are. Hello, Lord Vindictus. Can you hear us?
Right.
Awesome.
So, like, can you have a light drizzle versus like monsoon? As like how heavy the rain, snow, that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to just give you something. We're going to give you all kinds of adjustable sliders and things that you can do to make it cool. So yeah, those will be adjustable. It's kind of like again, now that we have interactive terrain, right? Like you will be able to, tap on a torch and change its flicker intensity or turn it off or change its color, things like that. So it'll be the same with the weather. You'll be able to dial it in to taste for sure.
Awesome. Very cool. Orion's typing one more thing, but we're coming on about an hour. So if you guys have any last questions at all, please let me know. I'll bring you on the stage and you can chat with Grant. But if not, Grant has 7 more minutes. You could probably dance for us, maybe sing us a song.
Or I can get back to work and make this awesome app for you guys.
Do you really want to stop at 4:54? Doesn't that bother you a
No,
little bit?
no, I mean, is there no more questions?
Orion and King said, Orion said, I use a lot of external tools to create dungeons. Do you plan on having a format to import data? And I think that's along the same lines of the STL question. Orion, I'll get you in here. Wait, is Orion the one that had the broken? Are you the one that had the broken mic, Orion? Orion, can you hear us?
Fine now. Oh,
there he is.
Yeah, Orion has no mic. So
sorry. So
he uses a lot of external tools to create dungeons. Do you plan on having a format to import data?
Orion, can I get a for instance? Like, what are you using?
Yeah, he's still typing.
So just to start talking about that, maybe. I mean, again, we can't support everything. We want to, part of this is we want to be your dungeon generator of choice, right? Like, we're going to be, again, this is a long roadmap, right? Like we plan on being around for a long time as a company and making the best tabletop platform that you've ever seen. So, we're going to constantly be adding features, and where it makes sense, we definitely want to partner with people. And again, we'll have, we are working on some of those things. But it just depends on what it is. And, a lot of it comes down to business decisions. If we're competitors, then that's not generally going to work. So, it's both the technical is usually always the easiest part. It's the business aspects that oftentimes are the roadblock. So I guess it really depends on what you're talking about. I don't know if he's able to type out some of the things he was using or not.
Not STL, just dungeon generators, maybe from the Dungeon Alchemist, perhaps, or I don't know. I'm just guessing here.
Oh,
like web-based generator.
Maybe, yeah,
Okay, yeah. So 2D maps. It looks like he provided some 2D maps and maybe generate those in 3D or be able to place 2D maps on the surface.
So as I said before, you'll definitely be able to take 2D maps and put them on the grid, right? Drop them on your table. if that's what you want to do. And you can use 2D tokens that you can import, and you can move them around if you want to do that. That's kind of like, the less expensive way to do it. You can use that as a template to then build with the 3D assets you have on top of that. So you can mix and match those things, or use the 2D map and your 3D minis. So you can mix and match however you like in that regard. And then as far as the 2D map into 3D thing, that is a trickier proposition to do automatically. But that is certainly something that we've been thinking about and talking with people about in terms of using AI to be able to translate 2D maps into 3D maps with our terrain. That's a very hard problem. But we have been talking to some people about that. So, that's something certainly for the more distant future. I would love to see that, but it's a very hard problem to actually solve if you start thinking about, and we did this, looking at, hundreds of different maps from the top down perspective and trying to figure out, well, which pieces in our library fit that, right? And having a machine do that. So it's definitely an AI problem. We'll see.
We'll see
But
is
wherever
good
it
enough.
makes sense for other dungeon generators, like other things that we can readily access, or that is a company that we want to that is amenable to working with us. We can certainly look into that, and that all depends on you guys, right? Like if there's enough pressure from you guys on both ends, then a deal is more likely to happen. So I think if everybody wants something different, it's going to be more difficult because we can't support everything. But if everybody kind of goes towards, we all want this, then we can, we're more apt to, look into that and get the deal done, and get the technology in place to make that work where it makes sense.
Awesome. Mr. Lick the Sofa wants to know if there will be any sofas and other props.
Yeah. Any sofas and what?
And other props. Yeah, we do have the props
Yeah.
packs. We haven't really talked about what they're going to be when we reveal them, but go ahead.
Yeah, and those we are trying to get. We're trying to show you that stuff before the Kickstarter ends. Those are going to be the more unique Kickstarter exclusives instead of just standard type props. But again, stay tuned here in the next several days for more on props. And of course, yes, we're going to continually crank out props. You're not going to just have empty, dungeon rooms and stuff. We're going to have all kinds of stuff coming from the libraries of Fat Dragon and from Dwarven Forge and others.
Awesome. And then do you want to talk quickly about the PC port? Ty was wondering if it's going to work with his Microsoft Surface, since it's a Windows application that is also a tablet.
That is interesting. We are concentrating for the PC stuff first on Windows and Mac. We will have to see how many, obviously, desktop systems and stuff of sufficient power. We will then start looking at Surface tablets and Chromebooks, which somebody else brought up in our comment section. Like, can it run on a Chromebook? I don't know. That those are pretty underpowered. But maybe, because again, this all runs on mobile, and those don't have AR generally. So we'll see. But obviously, we want to hit the major platforms first. It's all about development effort, right? We're hitting iOS, Android, tablets, phones, PC, and then of course, as we mentioned, we're trying to get in as soon as possible on the AR glasses. So that's a lot of work. So again, it will depend on demand as well. If everybody wants Surface tablet stuff, then we'll absolutely look into that. And maybe we'll definitely test it on that. But we'll have to see.
Yeah,
Right?
because
We have to
the
release
Surface
devices.
the Surface is an interesting situation because it is a Windows PC, but it's a
Yeah.
tablet at the same time. So it would be maybe a hybrid of what we're trying to do. Because it's my understanding that the PC port is going to be mostly the 3D environments that you can build in.
Yeah, the PC port is going to be using the Leanback environments, obviously, so that you can play in there. That's interesting. We'll have to look into that. I imagine it wouldn't be too difficult, because if you can use most of your PC applications in there, there's a mapping to the way, so it might just work. But we'd have to look into that and test on it. But we will add that to the list. We've got Chromebooks on there. We'll, as we get the PC port more moving along, we will be testing on all these different devices to see what we can run on and how much work we.
That is 1 hour on the dot. I think we can wrap it up right there. Grant, thank you so much. And thank you everyone else who was able to jump in. I will be always in the, yeah, we are going to run. I will be in the Discord 24/7. I will do my best to answer any other questions you guys have. Grant spends way too much time developing and not enough time with you guys. But I guess if you want a platform to play on, he's going to have to do that.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Grant.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you guys so much. Listen, I love the fact that we get to talk. We need to do this more, and we are listening to all your feedback. We want to do everything, but we have to pick our battles. But this is a long game, and we're here to win it. So thank you guys so much for your support. Make sure you tell all your friends, and continue to keep those comments coming. And let's all do this together. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and find out that my screen recorder wasn't working the whole time. So no, hopefully not. But yeah, I'm going to post this video. So if anyone missed it or tuned in late, you can watch it back again and not miss a thing. All right.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye bye.
All right. Take it easy.